I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com, being joined as always by my fellow prop master, Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com. We're going to be breaking down the Packers and the Raiders. And Andrew and I had a little talk before this game, and this is just not a game I think we're going to feel real comfortable putting a lot of plays in, even if it's just one play. We've got injuries. Devontae Adams props are not out. We don't know what's going on with Alexander for the Packers. So, Andrew, you and I were talking. This is not a game that you have to play, even though it's a primetime game. Bankroll management is so key. I don't even think I'm going to be in play with an official play. And sometimes, what do we always say? The best way to make money is to not lose it. So, what are your thoughts just overall on this Packers and Raiders game?
Love that expression, Andy. Good to be here with you on a Monday. And I'll tell you, just because it's a primetime game does not mean we have to bet it. And here's the deal. You look at an NBA slate and an NHL slate, MLB slate, different sports like that, when there's so many different games each day, you can kind of go through and find, okay, that's the spot that I like. Now, this is a primetime game, one NFL game tonight. I'm doing my research yesterday, preparing for this show, looking at things this morning to see if anything has really changed. And the way I feel about props is that, of course, I can find a spot here, a spot there, but if nothing really sticks out to me, then it really tells me it should be a stay away, because you don't want to be looking and searching and just trying so hard to make a play when, like you said, sometimes the best play is no play at all. Now here, of course, there's one or two plays that we might discuss today that do stick out and we could cash some tickets with, but it's a really good example that we love doing these Monday shows. We want to continue to do them. We're going to look at a couple of picks, numbers we hope to see for next week, but it's not really a game that I can really select which players are going to perform at a top level and which players might have a really bad day. So I have one or two spots that I like, Andy, but this is just a weird game to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. So let's just get right into it. We'll start with the passing props. I'll go first. The only one that really jumped out to me, and this may be my strongest lean, is Jordan Love over 32.5 attempts. He's easily hit this the last 2 weeks. He did not hit against Atlanta, who it now turns out Atlanta is just a great pass defense. And he did not hit against Chicago when they were up really big. So you have a really elite pass defense that he didn't hit. And then they had a game in the game script where he didn't need to throw. But hit big over the last 2 weeks. In fact, we were able to cash on him official play at WagerTalk over the Lions, or over his pass attempts over the Lions. And this is a team that Russell Wilson and Josh Allen have gone over against. So if I'm looking at Jordan Love, I think he's going to have success in the passing game. We laugh about A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones, who knows what we're going to get from him, this game script, who knows what the game script is going to be. So I do like Jordan Love over 32.5. I looked at Jordan Love over 232 passing. If you're just looking at his passing yards, he's gone over against the Lions, Saints, and the Bears. Again, under against Atlanta, who has a good pass defense. But if you're getting a good price, I think minus 130 is a pretty good price. Jimmy Garoppolo to have an interception. He's played 3 games. He has 6 interceptions. He's thrown at least one every game. So I'm looking at Jordan Love over 32.5 attempts, and I think Garoppolo is going to throw another interception. He just seems he can't really help himself at this point. So what did you have for passing props in this game?
Those interception props, Andy, I've been talking about it since I started doing this show with you. I have to buy into them. I have to get in on them. For some reason, they're a prop that I haven't really got too much into, but with the Jimmy G one, he loves throwing passes to the other team. That's for sure. But I like Jordan Love over 1.5 passing touchdowns here. One thing we look at for last week for the Packers against the Lions being, a young rookie's first ever primetime start. Now, I think it's a big leap from the first to the second. Maybe there's no jitters for him. Maybe he wasn't the kind of guy that played differently because it was a primetime game. But maybe he did. And now you get your second opportunity against a team, I think, that'll be a little bit easier as far as their pass rush. They might cause stress for quarterbacks. Only 2 teams in the NFL have fewer sacks this year than the Las Vegas Raiders. They're not really causing much pressure on quarterbacks. Looking at Jordan Love's start through 2 games, he had 6 passing touchdowns. Kind of quieted down a little bit recently, but I like what he's doing. And this Raiders team has allowed quarterbacks to get at least 2 passing touchdowns in 3 of their 4 games this season. So Jordan Love, over 1.5 passing touchdowns for me. You have some different props for him as well. Sounds like we both think Love's going to have a pretty good night.
Yeah, and I hate bringing up props again with the same guy, but for rushing props, I'm looking at Jordan Love under 9.5 for his longest rush. The Raiders have actually been really good against the run against quarterbacks. They haven't allowed a rush over this total all year. Even Josh Allen's longest run was 3. So I don't think Jordan Love gets over this. He went over against the Falcons and Saints, but he went under against the Lions and the Bears. So I don't think he gets out and gets over this 9.5 yard longest rush total. Let's talk about Josh Jacobs here. Andrew, you came to the same conclusion I did, which is the books have put this number at 72.5, and what a quandary. Like, he hasn't gone over this season, but the Packers are a bad rushing defense. So, do you follow the trend of Josh Jacobs going under this total, or do you follow the trend of the Packers not being a good rushing defense?
That's the thing. I find that when you look at a player and then you look at the matchup and the certain situation they might be in, and then you look at the number and you're like, man, everything adds up besides this number we're currently seeing. I was kind of tempted by the attempts here, no pun intended, but I think that if he gets, we've seen so far through 4 games, 19, 9, 17, and 17, Andy. I think if he gets those same opportunities he has been getting in the past few weeks against the Packers, he will go over that number. The Green Bay Packers have actually been pretty good against the pass, like you talked about there, averaging just like 6 yards per catch. I just think that they're going to just force feed Jacobs in order to stay them in the game. And we talked about Jimmy G. Like, let's be honest here. The passing game has not been good. It's been very predictable for the Raiders. If they can establish the run, they're going to. I love to look towards attempts, and I like to look towards consistency for that with running backs. And obviously, you want consistency with the yards, but if you have consistency with the attempts, it pretty much shows me that no matter really what the results have been, the coaching staff continues to go to him. And like I stated, I think that if Josh Jacobs gets as many attempts as he has been getting tonight, I think he'll have no problem going over that number. So, I mean, the only one he's had a down game so far is when he had 9 attempts, and that was because that game was absolutely crazy. But like I said, 19, 17, and 17, if he gets those opportunities, I think we should be all right.
Go ahead and hit that like button, please. It really helps our algorithm and helps let us know that we're doing a good job for everybody. And by all means, tell us your favorite bet for this game tonight. I don't know if I'm going to get to the window on any of these. I'm really anxious to see what everyone else has and to see if anyone else has a very strong read or a strong conviction on this game. So put in the comment section, read all of them. I'm going to be commenting on all of them. Really anxious to see what everyone else has. So go ahead and hit the like button. Leave us a comment with what your best bet is. Andrew, let's get into receiving props. It's minus 160. I like Romeo Doubs over 3.5 receptions. I know it's minus 160. I would have to say this is my strongest lean on this one. He really looks like he's emerging as a big time receiver for this team. He has 14 catches in the last 2 games, so he's got a ton of targets. And this is a Raiders team that does better against running backs than they do against wide receivers. I'll go over that in the anytime touchdown. But I like Romeo Doubs over 3.5 receptions. Minus 160. It's pretty juicy. So I don't know if I'm going to make that an official play. But as far as just if we're taking out the price, I love Doubs over 3.5 receptions. Once you add in that minus 160, it's probably just going to be a stay away for me. What do you think about the receiving props?
Andy, I'm looking at Luke Musgrave, tight end for the Green Bay Packers. I had him last week, actually. He's somebody I talked about, and he ended up going down with an injury, but he's going to be cleared for tonight. He will be in the lineup. His number is pretty low, and this Raiders team has not had much success against the tight end position overall. And I talked in the last segment there about just looking at consistency for attempts for running backs. Well, the targets are there for Musgrave, and I think with his number being just in the low 30s, I think he only needs maybe 3 catches for us to get there. Whenever he makes a catch, it's not kind of that safety blanket tight end type of catch for 5 or 6 yards. It's usually a pretty dangerous play, 10 to 15 yards. So we only need a few out of him. And I like what you said there about Romeo, but one thing I will say about Jordan Love, I feel like he's done a really good job of not picking favorites. Clearly, there's a couple guys that are going to have more targets and more opportunities than others. But one thing great about this Packers offense when they have had success this year, I've found, is they've really mixed things up. So unlike Musgrave, I think the number is 32.5, Andy. So that's my over as far as the receiving positions are concerned. As for the Raiders, look, I've talked about it. I think it's just very hard to get a read on this team because they're pretty much the opposite. They don't spread out their offense. They've made it very predictable. If anything, I'll probably end up playing some unders if I would, but as far as props, there's so many teams in the NFL, Andy. This is a team that I just don't want to put my money on a certain player to do anything. I just don't know who's going to have a big game each week for them.
Yeah, I'm with you too. These are two teams that are pretty tough to predict. The Raiders, especially, you just never know what you're going to get from this team week in and week out. A couple of other random props that you might be able to look at. The Raiders team total is 23.5. You might look at the under. They don't have over 20 points in any game this season. Even the game that they won, they couldn't get over 20. So I'm surprised to see it that much. Now, are they going to score under 23.5 points every game this season? No. So they'll get over at some point. But then, Andrew, the anytime touchdown score, I think, is interesting because of the prices on Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Watson is plus 170. Doubs is plus 220. If you play both of them and one of them hits, you're going to walk away with some profit. The Raiders have given up 6 touchdown passes to wide receivers. The only teams who have given up more have played 5 games. So you're looking at potentially the worst team at giving up touchdown passes to wide receivers. And obviously we're looking at Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. So I like it. This works well if Jordan Love does throw over 1.5 touchdown passes. You got to believe at least one of them is going to wide receiver, probably 2 of them. So I might look at the anytime touchdown score for Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. I would play both or none. I wouldn't just try and pick one because the Raiders have kind of given up, touchdowns to wide receivers, not just one, not just wide receiver one on the other team. So anything for anytime touchdown score, team totals, anything different in this game?
I like what you said there about picking both, not one. That's a really smart way of looking at it. And I think that with the price there, it makes a lot of sense. I think some of our commenters last week were shocked you didn't mention A.J. Dillon anytime. For him to just do that and nothing else tonight. I honestly think there's value on Jordan Love at plus 360. I think that the running game hasn't really been very impressive for the Packers this year, as we've kind of made jokes about, of course, the Aaron Jones injury. I think Jordan Love has the confidence that if he sees a hole, they're on the goal line, he'll take it in himself. And at plus 360, I feel like that's worth a sprinkle. And other than that, I kind of like the 2 that you said there. And I mentioned it's hard to get a read on the Raiders as far as which players are going to perform well and who's going to get their targets. Jacoby Myers seems to be a guy that gets targeted in the end zone quite a bit. And, getting a pretty good number on him at like plus 200, plus 195, depending on where you shop around. So he would be my Raiders pick actually tonight, Andy. But I think as far as the Packers go, I think it's a really good price there on Jordan Love, plus 360.
Nice. Breaking down the Packers and the Raiders, all of our plays we found at WagerTalk.com. Andrew, you have a play up tonight already for Monday Night Football, correct?
Yes, just one play, and as we've discussed, probably won't be adding any more unless I see some other things kind of pop off the page to me, but just be hopefully one and done for me tonight, Andy. How about yourself?
I don't know if we're going to get to the window on any of them. I mean, the bottom line is some of these props are still not even out yet. So, like once we get some injury news, when we get closer to kickoff, maybe something will change and I'll have one. As of now, I'm just taking the approach of being patient. Full disclosure, I lost my first 5% play of the NFL season. It was going to happen, but I want to make sure I don't compound the problem and go all in or make a situation worse. If you have a losing day, it's okay. That's going to happen. The great Ralph Michaels once explained, if you can hit 60% of your bets, you'd be the best in the world. But that means you only win 7.2 months out of the year. Think about that. The rest of the year you're losing. That's if you want to be the best. So I'm perfectly fine with laying off. We would rather lay off a winner than give out a loser. So I may or may not have one. When the lines come back out, if we get news on Jair Alexander and Devontae Adams, and get some more clarification on Aaron Jones, who is going to play. It's just what do we know about what his role is going to be and how many touches is he going to get? I may have one closer to kickoff, but for right now, I'm a layoff right now. All right, let's take a look at numbers for next week, or props that we hope to see. I've got a few of them, Andrew. Based on what we've seen through the first few weeks, what are you looking forward to for seeing for next week when the lines come out?
So whenever you ask me this, Andy, a lot of times it's either a prop that I played this past weekend that I plan on playing again, or it's a prop that I had my eye on that I missed and want to play this week, or just a really good matchup. Look, I had a play this past weekend on Waddle over receiving yards. The guy had a ton of targets, just kind of an off game for him. And when you've got a guy like Tyreek Hill on your team that's getting close to 150 yards, what seems like every single game, it can be frustrating. But I want to go right back to him. That matchup, Dolphins against Panthers, I feel like that's the type of matchup, that's the kind of game that Waddle can get going. And when you look at what Waddle's number is, and you're getting 60, 65 and a half, in that range, he's so talented, but because he kind of falls under that shadow sometimes of Tyreek Hill, you're able to get that really good number. The guy started off the game, a few minutes into the game, he had 22 yards. He ended the game with 35. But if you look at targets, which I always stress is so important to me, they were certainly there. He did have opportunities. He just wasn't able to make those key plays. So it's something I'll definitely have my eye on. As far as the Bills and Giants game, I want to get a really good price on Josh Allen over 2.5 passing touchdowns. Whatever your stance is on the Buffalo Bills, if you think they're contenders or pretenders or what type of team they are, they're definitely a team that knows how to beat bad teams. They know how to bounce back after bad games. And I mean, this is just how the NFL goes in a nutshell. I mean, we saw what happened when they played the Raiders several weeks ago, and they beat the Dolphins. They go to London. They don't look very good against the Jags. And now they have a very, very, favorable matchup, we'll say, Sunday Night Football. I think that over 2.5, if I can get a pretty good price on that, that's definitely one that I had my eye on. And lastly, Jordan Addison. He's someone that I was talking about quite a bit on the show earlier in the season on Prop It Up. And of course, I go away from him, and he has a great day yesterday for the Vikings. He has a matchup against the Chicago Bears next week, Andy. He's someone I have my eye on. If I can get somewhere in the late 40s, early 50s for Addison, I'll have my money on his prop. So he's someone that's really great. And again, he falls under that shadow, of course, in the depth chart of guys like Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, some dangerous players in that team, and you can get a really good price. So a few that I'm looking at, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on that Josh Allen one, because it seems like it's a wash, rinse, repeat. When the Bills lose, he pretty much goes crazy the next game.
The Jordan Addison is all dependent on what news we get from Justin Jefferson. I don't know how long the hamstring is going to be. We've seen guys pull their hamstring and then all of a sudden they're playing next week, and then you've seen guys like Deontay Johnson pull the hamstring and they put him on IR. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm guessing that line on Jordan Addison is not going to come out for a while. That's the bummer part of someone like that. I'm guessing they're going to wait on that one until we get full confirmation of what's going on with Justin Jefferson. For Josh Allen, I'll be honest, Andrew, I have James Cook. I want a great rushing number on James Cook. I love this in a buy low spot. He had a horrific game against Jacksonville, but boy, if you want a nice bounce back game, why don't you get the Giants at home? So I think that's a great game for the Bills to, just jump back and just rebound. And I'm not really sure what the Giants do to improve. They can't. That offensive line is terrible. My worry in that game is that the Bills are so beat up on defense that it may actually be just a little bit closer, which bodes really, really well for your Josh Allen, and maybe not so much for my James Cook. But that Bills defense just keeps getting more and more injured. So I kind of like the Josh Allen one. I think that one could be high scoring. I could see a ton of points in that one. I also want Devon Achane. I'm not really sure on the pronunciation of his name. And by the way, neither are the announcers. So don't comment that I don't know how to pronounce his name. They pronounce his name different every play. I want to see a rushing number under 70. He easily smashed his rushing total yesterday, and he's playing against the Panthers. And we saw David Montgomery have a huge game against the Panthers. I mean, this poor Panthers team can't get anything going. So I want a really, really good number on him. And I also want a really good number on Trevor Lawrence. I would hope to get 250 passing. The Colts secondary, again, let a quarterback fly over the passing total. Their pass defense is terrible. And they just like running the ball. Yeah, you basically run the ball just a little bit, but really it's just to set up the pass. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has to have a good game against this Colts team with a healthy Ridley that they've had a few games to get acclimated, and Christian Kirk is looking better. I would like that one. And on an under, I really want a good number on Terry McLaurin receiving total. I hope to get him less than 70, maybe less than 65. I would still play an under. Atlanta's pass defense with A.J. Terrell is just fantastic. Third least amount of passing yards allowed for teams that have played 5 games. They do a good job. When the game script fits them, they can control the ball and win the time of possession. When the game script gets out of their hands and they need to pass, it doesn't go very well for them. And Desmond Ridder, I know he had a really, really big game yesterday, but I think Atlanta plays well against Washington. I'm not a Washington believer, so I would say that Terry McLaurin under would be there. And Andrew, I do have to say we were laughing about Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts on Friday. That whole situation, they both had big games and went over. And since that show, I did read a quote from the coach of Atlanta. Kyle Pitts is dealing with an injury. I mean, the coach pretty much said it without saying it, and was saying that he's fighting through some things. So it was nice to see Kyle Pitts have a really nice game, as it does appear that he's been dealing with an injury. So that being said, though, I think I might go back to Jonnu Smith over. The guy's he's a real weapon in that offense. So I hope to get a really good number. I mean, his number was 30.5. I think he more than doubled that one. So those are some numbers that I hope
Just
to
tell
see.
him to hold on to the ball, Andy. That's all we need out of that guy. Hold on to the ball, please.
Yep. So
from a guy that had the Falcons yesterday, that was way too much of a sweat, more than it had to be.
Yeah, I agree. We hit a really nice cross sport parlay, and I was thinking to myself, well, why not just keep it really, really simple? Like, we had the alt line on like the Lions -2.5 and the Dolphins -2.5, and it's like, why didn't we just play that? Of course, the Giants and the Panthers were going to get decimated yesterday.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe
we started.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. We put it with Max Verstappen to win the Formula One race. I think he won going away. So whatever.
Andy,
Andrew, remind everybody. Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Why is that price not way higher than it is on Max Verstappen? I don't understand. Can you actually explain it to me?
Sure.
In minute, why that price isn't any higher?
Okay, so for those of you that follow all of our plays, you guys know that Max Verstappen to win a Formula One race is basically the best parlay piece of 2023. He's already won the championship. He wins every race. I think he's only not won 3 of them, and you're getting it at -400. So what we've been doing is we parlay Max Verstappen to win, and then we put it, like yesterday, we put it with the alt lines of the Lions -2.5, and they easily covered that against the Panthers, and then the Dolphins -2.5. So I guess the reason that they're only keeping it at -400 is if an accident happens and he goes out, but he just doesn't, he's always ahead, so he's never around anybody to have an accident. I guess they say, well, reliability, maybe the car engine goes out, except it doesn't. It's the best car on the planet. So I don't know why it's -400. He already wrapped up the championship. So maybe they're thinking, well, he may not have as much motivation to win the race, but this is a guy that wants to win every time he goes out. So, Andrew, the answer is I don't know why it's -400. I just know I'm really, really happy that it is, because it makes for just fantastic cross-sport parlays. And I know parlays are, the devil's workshop according to some people, but if you use them really creatively, they can be amazing. And that's really what we do. We're up 70 units on parlays this year, and they work really well if you can find some of the spots. And Andrew, as well as I do, maybe the second best place to look for for parlay pieces this year has been the CFL. Like, hasn't the Toronto Argonauts money line been just the most amazing parlay piece when Chad Kelly plays? I know we're off on a little tangent, but I feel like we didn't give out great information.
Too.
Yes.
They have not lost at home, so hard to argue it.
Yeah, so it's just if you're for me, I'm always looking at creative ways to use parlays. Like you said, you find a Toronto team that has won every game at home. Yes, that's perfect parlay piece. You put that with Max Verstappen to win, and you're going to be one of the best wagers on the planet. So there's a little cross-sport parlay talk since we didn't give out since we give out our best stuff on the Raiders and Packers game. So this is just a reminder, guys. All of our plays at WagerTalk.com are up and available, and just be careful with tonight's game. If you don't feel like you have a great read, you don't have to fire away on it. You don't have to, bet everything on it. If you think you like one play, maybe just make it a 1% or a 2% play. So I'm coming off of a losing Sunday. It's my first losing Sunday of the NFL season, so I'm probably going to take it easy tonight. Turning a profit for the first 4 weeks in NFL is fantastic. If I can keep up that record for the rest of the year, I'm good. I just want to make sure that I protect that bankroll. So, Andrew, one more time, what do you have up? Where can we find you at?
Yeah, of course, at wt.buzz/am, wagertalk.com. I'm going to be doing some NHL daily videos. You can find those, of course, on the YouTube channel and the WagerTalk TV app. Puck Time returns tomorrow on Tuesday. One NFL play going tonight. I have a CFL play in action on Monday. Happy Thanksgiving to all the Canadian viewers here watching WagerTalk TV. I'm looking forward to some turkey and hopefully cashing in some tickets today. Andy, what do you have going today and the rest of the week? As far as your 5% play, man, I know you're on a huge streak. You're going to bounce back right away, man.
Yeah, we're 25-10 over the last 35. If I can keep up that percentage for the rest of my career, you'll be visiting me in Andy's palace.
I'll be on your yacht. I'll be on your yacht.
Honestly, we're going to be taking it easy this week. We are coming off of a really long stretch of winning weeks in a row. I think we've won 7 out of our last 9 weeks. And so this is kind of where regression is coming. And if I could figure out a way to bottle it and sell it about how to predict when you're getting ready to hit regression, that would be another big thing that I could market and sell. But I just think this week I'm going to take it easy. We have the last week of Dana White Contender Series. I will probably have a play up. I think I'm taking a week off in UFC. I don't like the card. Lost another just terrible decision when Murata got robbed. So I've kind of hit a little bit of cold streak there, which is fine because we're coming off a really big hot streak. So I'm taking it easy. Any play that I have up this week will be absolutely full confidence because I am taking it easy. So I don't have anything up tonight, but just check back later this evening once we get the Devontae Adams and Jair Alexander news. We'll see if we have anything to fire away on. But if it's not a great weekend for everybody, just relax. Better days are ahead. And if you had a great weekend, congratulations. And let us know in the comments. Hit the like button. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We are going to be back on Friday to break down all of Sunday's games for next week. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We will see everyone Friday on Prop It Up.